What is up? Show number 2. So glad you could join us. He's Joik Bell. I'm Sean Baligian. Of course, we got our man Corey in here as well. We're going to check in with Corey in just a second. So much to talk about. Obviously, a night in the NFL last night. We got another one tonight, 8:05 tonight. Dallas Cowboys, Baltimore Ravens getting together. We got a little love for the Buffalo Bills, Joik and I. We'll tell you why in a little bit. He does, not only because he spent some time there, but somebody we know is with the Buffalo Bills. So shout out to Coach Heff.
Coach Heff.
Can we do that?
Oh, yeah.
Are we allowed to do that? What's up, my man?
Man, good, man. What's up?
Hey, you know what? I like this doubleheader thing. I don't know about you. The Monday night doubleheader.
Hey, the more the football, the more the merry.
Yeah, right?
Right. So go back to Coach Heff, man. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I mean, that was a physical game last night. I enjoyed watching it. They literally punched 49ers in the mouth.
Yeah.
It was a physical game. I liked it.
I like that team. Yeah. I like that team.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? If you didn't know, Coach Heff is, of course, Coach Terry Heffernan, who coaches offensive line with the Bills. He was here with the Lions for a little bit. Yeah. He was the offensive line coach at Wayne State when that guy was there, and I was calling games.
Oh, he also coached me at the Lions. Don't
yes,
forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was.
Absolutely.
So he left Wayne State and followed me to the Lions.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I got to the Lions, a lot of the coaches that coached me on previous teams followed me to Detroit, from Buffalo, from New Orleans, from the Colts, with
that's fun. Lombardi and Heff. Yeah.
And Heff. Jim Bob Cooter.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys followed me back to Detroit, so it was good to have them. We're
going to talk about what happened last night. You know, one thing I do want to talk about, and a great follow on Twitter, if you didn't know. Of course, you got to follow him. You know that. Come on, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm Sean P. Bally, but Corey Woods does a fantastic job, an absolutely fantastic job. It's Corey with a K, by the way. Corey E. Woods, right? Am I getting that right, Corey? Is that your Twitter handle?
That is definitely the Twitter handle.
He does a great job covering the league. And Joik, you know, I know you're not in on a lot of the media calls and everything. He's in on every media call, getting the questions in there and everything. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and we're going to bring this back to Joik, Corey, is, you know, I saw you commenting, and a lot of other, you know, guys that follow the lines of beat writers and everything, about Coach Bevel and just the different temperature of having those pressers, the Zoom pressers. It's still an odd experience for all of us, as opposed to being in the room and talking to Joik or whomever. But explain how the temperature's different and how it just seems, I guess, is lighter the best word to say it?
It's definitely the best word to use it. For the past couple of years, I've been fortunate enough to cover the Lions and be at the press conferences, whether it was at Allen Park or whether it's now through the Zoom calls. And when Patricia was here as the coach, it was, you know, a lot of talking in circles, showing up to the meetings late, a little snarly with reporters. And it was just kind of like you're almost on pins and needles, you know, trying to ask him a question because you don't know whether you're going to get him on a good day or a bad day. Now that you go ahead and you have Bevel in there, it's been like pretty fun. It's like he's a really good guy. He's lighthearted, answers the questions. He's personable, and I've even seen when Matthew Stafford came in after Patricia was fired and he spoke, he seemed like he was a little bit looser and having more fun with it. So it's like the temperature in the press conferences have changed, and people are actually enjoying asking questions because Bevel is actually answering and giving thoughtful responses.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know what you've heard of Coach Bev, Joik. I'd be intrigued to
Not much.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. It sounds like he's that player's coach, though. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm going to throw it back to you, because you know you've seen some guys. Of course, we talked about Coach Winters at Wayne State. You've been in other places, but specifically with the Lions, I go back to Coach Caldwell, because so many people think that, like, Matt Patricia was, I don't know the best way to say it, the anti-Coach Caldwell. I can tell you this, the first practice that I went to, okay, the first practice of training camp, 2018, all right? I will never forget, they take to the field, and I'm not joking, probably 60 seconds in, this is no exaggeration, it was bleep, 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 bleep. You got to do it. Bleep, 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 bleep. And everybody, like in the media, we all sat there going, because that wasn't the way that Coach Caldwell did things.
No. I think Caldwell respected each player as a man first, and that's why he got our respect back. And you remember yesterday when we kind of harped on it, I told you that coaches like Coach Caldwell or Coach Winters, those type of coaches are the guys you want to do well, not because you're afraid of them, but because you don't want to disappoint them. And as men, especially as football players, we have egos, and you can't speak to us a certain type of way. Now, some players you can get away with it. But some guys you can't get away with the way. And those are guys they kind of they let go, like a Quandre Diggs or a Darius Slade or Ziggy Ansah. Like you can't. It's me, you can't talk to certain players a certain type of way and expect to get the response you want. You're going to get the response we want. And I never played with Coach Patricia,
Sure.
So I can't speak on that. But as far as Coach Caldwell, great man, loved him. He was personable. He cared about each player. He would ask you, how are you today before we got into anything, and he kept us included. We felt like we were part of the front office, how we were able to run our team. And like I said, the 2014 season, that was probably one of the best teams we've had, I'd say, in the past decade, 2 decades. So
it's interesting to hear you say that because to me, Joik, this is a situation where you can't put a price tag on that respect in the room. Look, did we all want more? Of course we did. You guys wanted more. I think, it's funny talking to some of you guys. I remember having this conversation with Herman Moore years ago, looking back at those lines of the early 90s, and you kind of sit back and you're like, wow, how didn't that team win more? I kind of have that feeling about your era. Like, why didn't you guys win more? The pieces were there. That team was so good. So with all that being said, yeah, everybody wanted more wins. Everybody wanted the playoff success. But you can't put a price tag on a guy that the room loves.
Yeah, you can't. We kind of talked about it yesterday as well, about how when you're not playing for anything, you don't have a shot in the playoffs. And how can you muster up enough energy to finish the season off right to go into the next season? And so the year that we started 1-7, and some chairs was moved, and then we were able to finish off the last 8 games 6-2. Just a testament to how we felt about Coach Caldwell. And he will come and tell you, like, guys, I don't want you guys to do good for me. And I'll never forget that. He said, I don't want you guys to do good for me. I mean, I got enough money to pay a king's ransom. That's, I want you to do good for you. And I remember him telling us, he said, now listen, this isn't hard. He's like, this isn't hard. We can dig ourselves out of this. This isn't hard. Like, the hardest thing you'll ever have to do in your life is work on a marriage. He said that'll be the hardest thing. And then that kind of stuck with me. And we were able to pull it together and finish off 6-2, and the last 8 games 6-2, and that kind of followed into the following season. So
nobody saw that coming too. I mean, you guys, no diss. I mean, you guys looked so bad in some of those games that getting to that point.
Honestly, we could have finished the last 8 games 8-0. When we lost to Green Bay on the ghost face mask. Yeah, thanks, refs. Appreciate that, refs. Appreciate that. And they gave them an opportunity to throw that Hail Mary to end up ultimately winning that game. That kind of followed us into the following week against, who was at the Rams. And then we was able to bounce back and then win out. But it was just, it was tough. And but we were able to, they were able to put it together, and they went to the playoffs the next year. And that's when I left, and I went to the Bears and came back.
Came back? Yeah. That was a darn good team. You guys had a lot of fourth quarter magic that year. That was the first year I was involved with the radio broadcast, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. The Thanksgiving Day game against Minnesota. Slay picking it off, hitting the field goal to win the game on the last play of the game. It was one of those moments you remember at Ford Field, the place exploded. Because, again, it goes back to what you talked about yesterday. Those divisional opponents, man, everything is up. The ante is up. The fervor is up. I mean, there was just, some energy in Ford Field that day.
It is, because you're playing those teams twice a year. So You know, you can lose out every game outside of your division and then still make the playoffs. Just win your division, you know. So when those games come around, we don't take them lightly.
You know, how much does ownership take into account? And it's hard for you to answer this question, but I got to spit it out there anyway. How much does ownership take into account the love that a room happens to have for a guy? Because, you know, it's clear to me now Bob Quinn had it from day one. He was going to get his guy in here. He was going to get Matt Patricia in there. And the reason why I asked that is because, hey, the Lions just won a game against a divisional opponent. They beat the Bears, finally, okay? They're feeling good about themselves. Let's say they put together one of those runs like you guys did in 2014. And I know the schedule isn't pretty, but if you watch the NFL, man, expect the unexpected. Hello, Washington Redskins, Washington football team, right?
Washington football team. So those are the type of games, right, when you're prepping during the week. We have some games we might call stack games, and we might not. I mean, you're going to prep, but it might not be as detailed as other weeks, which it should be. And you have a team like the Washington football team come in, sneak up on you, and they take a win. And out of every team in the NFL, I would have expected them to beat Washington. Like it's a gimme game.
Yeah,
like, you know,
right.
just go out there and execute. And they weren't in sync as a team. They weren't. And it's disappointing to see because I wanted to see that undefeated, that perfect. I wanted to see it. It's tough to do in the NFL.
Heck yeah.
It's tough to do. I mean, you're playing against some of the best players in the world at the prime, you know, at the prime of their career. So it's tough, but I wanted to see it, and I was disappointed yesterday in that game.
More on that in a little bit. I want to throw a top five at you. Corey threw a top five out there in the NFL as things stand right now. Corey, I want to throw to you based on what Joik was just saying. It seems to me that Coach Bev is getting some love from the players. Obviously, he's getting some love from the media. I wonder how much that will be taken into account by management. You know, is there a chance that this guy, they might say, forget the interim, we're going to keep you. This is a guy that's been pining for a job for a while. Now, I know people out there, I get it. A lot of people out there are going to say, Lions have to do something different. Go get a name. Go get your boy from Dearborn. Go get your general manager. I'm an Ed Dodds guy, I'm not going to lie, from Indianapolis. Look him up if you don't know his background. But is there a chance, you know, let's say the Lions go 2-2 in their next four, with this slate being what it is. You got Green Bay, you got Tennessee, you got Tampa, and you got Minnesota. Let's say the Lions go 2-2, finish 3-2 under Coach Bev. What if the players do exactly what Joik said and said, this is our guy. This is the guy that we want to be with. This is the guy that we want. What are the chances of the Lions making Coach Bev their head coach?
Honestly, I think regardless of what Coach Bev does, the Lions should do their due diligence, unless, here's my only scenario where the Lions would not do their due diligence and do a coaching search. If Bev goes undefeated, you have to at least give him a look. If he goes undefeated and they somehow win a playoff game, I want to say somehow, but if they go undefeated, get in the playoffs and win a playoff game, you got to bring him back. That's like, what, the second playoff win in 60 years? So you got to bring him back in that scenario. But if he goes like 2-3 over 2-2 to finish out the season and finishes 3-2, just still do your due diligence. Obviously, the way the team has looked, the defense still needs some work, but the offense looks, in 1 week, granted it was the Bears, looks night and day. So I would do the due diligence, do the coaching search, and hopefully my dream scenario would be to bring in Robert Saleh and still keep Bev as the offensive coordinator. They have familiarity together. They work together with the Seahawks, so that would be my scenario.
No, it's funny, Joik. You know what? We saw that happen. There was a coaching change, and Coach Heff stayed with the Lions. Mm-hmm. Jeremiah Washburn, my old neighbor, he lived very close to me. He stayed with the Lions as well. So that's very possible that, you know, whoever the new guy is says, hey, we want this guy to stick around. Maybe not in the role that he was, but we want this guy to stick around. That's not unprecedented.
No, it's not. It's not. So when they made the coaching change in, what was that, in 15? Mm-hmm. That was 15 when they made the coaching changes in the middle of the season, and they ended up, think they let go of the offensive coordinator, and they also let go of the offensive lineman coach. And we actually finished off 6-2, so it was we understood what was at stake, and we didn't want Caldwell to go, so we got to figure it out, guys, and we got to figure it out.
You know, do you have situations, you've heard the story before, like out of college, you know, players get together, go to the president's house, go to the AD's house or whatever and say, look, I know you got a search going on, but our coach is right here. We want to play for this guy. Does that kind of stuff happen in the NFL? Like, did at any point in time, did any of the guys say, hey, look, I know things are bad right now, but we need Coach Caldwell here during that 15 season?
Yeah, we definitely needed him.
Yeah.
They needed him the next year as well, and I think even the year after that, I think he should have stayed. But even when I left and before the 16th season, and I was gone for most of the season, went to the Bears and came back. When I came back, the culture of the team had changed. It totally changed. And it was when they let go of the GM and the president the previous year, just the culture, it just felt like they were walking on eggshells in there. Like we couldn't do some of the things we did before, like the team camaraderie things we'll do on the airplane. It was just like, get on the plane, shut up, sit down, watch a movie, and go play the game. It just wasn't fun anymore. Yeah, and that was my take on it. It was just totally different than when I spoke with other guys. They felt the exact same way. Some of the guys that were there when I was there, and some guys that I played with in the 16th season that wasn't there before. That's kind of all they knew, and the guys who wanted to still have that team camaraderie and have a voice, or some of the guys that let go, and those were some of the big name guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, I look back to 11, and you joined the Lions in 11. That was another fun team. I mean, that team, I'll never forget that Christmas Eve, pounding the Chargers and forcing your way into the playoffs. You know, because everybody always talks about, oh, the Lions backed into the playoffs. You know what?
Is that the year was that the year we
You lost to the Saints in the playoffs.
We lost the Saints, but
Yeah.
So my first game, I think when they sealed their playoff against the Bears, when I came, we were playing Green Bay at Green Bay.
Okay.
And that was the coldest game.
Was it?
Coldest game
No kidding.
I've ever. I don't know because I wasn't playing, so I was just standing on the sideline. But that game was, I had to go check the weather for that game. But I think they didn't play. I think we ended up losing like 45-42, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, that was the Matt Flynn game. Remember that, Corey? Backup quarterback Matt Flynn. Oh my gosh.
Nobody can see me, but I'm just gonna shake my hand.
So yeah, that game, and then I had just came to the Lions from the Saints, so I was in the playbook every single day because I really wanted to play against the Saints, and I didn't get the opportunity to that year. I only played them, I think, one more time in Detroit. We won,
Yeah.
but I had a lot of steam in me for that game in 2011. But no, it was good times.
When you look at your coaches, and we're talking a lot of coaches here on Woodward Sports today, you know, obviously, I'm sure you've seen the buzz. Everybody talks about how, boom, like that, the culture has changed here with Coach Bev. The players seem to be having more fun. We actually saw adjustments on a game day. I mean, that's amazing. The Lions made some adjustments and found a way to win a game as opposed to finding a way to lose the game. And that's something that we saw way too much during the Patricia era. But you know what, Joy, let's start with Coach Schwartz, because it's almost like people forget he took over a disaster. They were 0-8. They took their lumps in 9. They took their lumps in 10. You were part of the team late in the season, as you mentioned, in 2011. Yeah. Coach Schwartz at the time looked like a genius. He really did. What was the redeeming quality of Coach Schwartz?
Coach Coach Caldwell was a calm, collected coach, and Coach Jim Schwartz was he was a hot pocket. He was a hot. I loved it. I loved it because he loved his players, right? He loved his players, and he was a defensive coach, so he had that defensive mentality. So usually your best player represents the coach mentality, and Sue and Coach Schwartz were aligned. Like I remember I wasn't even on the team this year, but I think this was the 2011 season when he played. They played the 49ers, and he got into
Monday
it with
night game. You got it.
and they kind of got into it.
Yep.
And in my head, I'm like, that's not football. I have some sportsmanship, but in my head, I'm like, that's Detroit. Yeah, you know, but I'm in New Orleans, though. But I'm watching it. I want to play for, like, I want to go back home. And so I ended up going back to Detroit at the end of the year. But that's the mentality I love to see. And Sue represented the way Coach Schwartz kind of played. And it was just, if you get a penalty, we'll be okay. And, you know, we had a lot of penalties on that team that year. And when Coach Caldwell came in, we had less penalties because he was more so, you know, control yourself, let me do all, you know, and Coach Schwartz was like, let's get after it. Let's get after it. And so I love this mentality. Yeah, he was a great coach to me. I loved him. We used to have something called, we called it Friday. Every Friday we have like it's not a game show, but it's like a game plan show. So you go in Friday, he'll call one player from defense, one player from offense, one player from special teams, and it's random every week.
Yeah.
And so this is during a team meeting, right? So you have the GM, you have the president, you have all the coaching staff, the scouts, the front office, all the players are all in a room and doing a team meeting. And he'll call some random people up to the front. You go to the board, and he'll ask you questions about the opponent, about the game plan, and you have to get it right. If you don't get it right, I mean, you're like it's pressure.
Yeah,
right? It's
right.
pressure. But that's the type of stuff he did. Like Coach Caldwell never did that. He used to have the emphasis tape, and that's something totally different. But stuff like that Schwartz would do to make sure we were prepared for the game. And you never knew, so it forced you to always stay ready because you didn't know if he was going to call you or not. So you had to make sure you studied the game plan.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you point blank, I was all in on Coach Schwartz. I really was after 2011 because, you know, I don't think enough people think about this, but just hearing Joik describe this, I hope you guys caught that up. Joik, it's safe to say that both of those teams kind of took on the personality of their coach.
Both teams do.
It's amazing.
No, that's kind of what it is. So I heard this from a head coach. I heard this from Sean Payton. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know, he was an observing coach, so he would observe and then he would speak. And he said that usually a team would take over the personality of his head coach. Mm-hmm. And when I kind of went around the league, I've kind of noticed that on every team I ever played on, the identity of the team was the identity of the coach. And that was one thing that I'm like, wow, I never really looked at it that way. And just hearing other coaches' perspective on a team was kind of cool.
Which kind of coach do you want? I mean, which kind of coach do you think works? I mean, look, you can't deny Bill Belichick and the job that he's done, but by all accounts, he's somebody that goes like this. But, you know, looking back at the guys that you did, because we're going to be talking about coaching here a lot the next few weeks. I think everybody knows that. And Corey, you mentioned it. Our boy from Dearborn, his name's going to be thrown all around there. I'm going to be interested to see if Coach Bev perhaps gets some love from the guys in the room. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for that guy, like you said, like a P-Dubs, like a Coach Caldwell? Treat me like a man. I know what I'm supposed to do.
I want a guy that's in between. If I had to choose, I would say Caldwell, but I like Caldwell, but I also like Coach Schwartz spiciness. I liked it. I like to be able to have that okay to, you know, it's kind of close, but right on the whistle, give a guy, you know, and you're fine. You know, he's not going to say anything to you. You know, it's football. You know, it's physical, and so I like a coach that has that same spiciness, but also that same calmness as Coach Caldwell. He's like that cool grandpa you always want to be around. I just want to, hey, yo, grandpa, man, what you doing? I'm gonna come pick you up. Let's go get some brunch. You know,
Yeah.
And so that's what Coach Caldwell was to me, and. Even after he left, I tried to keep in contact with him just to check in, and it was good times. And the other coach that I probably talked with the most is probably Coach Curtis Motkins. Okay. So even after I left, he always kept in contact, make sure I was doing well, make sure my family was doing well, because I had a majority of my career, so he was like another father figure for me.
Sure. Yeah. What was Sean Payton like?
Sean Payton was he was funny, man. He could never say my name right. He would always call me Jork. He had that southern accent. Yeah. Hey, Jork, come to my office. And so I remember when I played for him, I had tore my MCL the first preseason game, and they projected me to be out 6 to 8 weeks. And so I set up for 1 week, and I knew that they had Pierre Thomas, they had Chris Ivory, they had Darren Sproles, they had Mark Ingram. Jeez. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to keep me if I sit on the bench, so I have to play. So I had, long story short, I ended up just telling them to give me a compression sleeve and a knee brace. So I played through it, ended up leading the team in rushing and receiving. So at the end of the season, the Reaper came to my locker and told me to bring my playbook and let's go talk to Coach Payton. I said, dang. Grab my playbook, go upstairs. And he has this big desk like this. And I walk in, he sits down. Jork, have a seat. So I, hey, Jork. Yeah. So I have a seat in front of his desk, and he hits this button underneath his desk, and it closes the back door. I looked back and I said, that's pretty cool. He said, oh, you like that? I just had it installed yesterday. So he was funny. So he said, listen, Jork, we didn't want to go into the season with 5 running backs, but you played so good, you made us keep you. I'm like, so I'm not cut? He said, no, you're not. You're on the team. I said, oh, thank God.
Oh, that's
Then
awesome.
we stepped back and just kind of laughed about it. And
right.
then, but no, man, I love Sean Payton, man. He's a brilliant coach. The players love him. I mean, I loved him. I mean, it was a good organization to play for. They also are one of those teams that has that winning culture, and he brought that there. I remember he said he had another. It was either going to be there, or I believe it was going to be the Oakland. Mm-hmm. And he was giving us a story about the owner at the time, Al
Davis.
Yeah, Al Davis, and he was giving the story about when he went in there, how. It was just a funny story. I don't think I could say it on here, but it was a funny story, and it was just funny on how he ended up in New Orleans. So it was a good time, man.
You know what's funny that in Corey, you probably figured this out. The reason I'm bringing up Sean Payton is because Sean Payton was the hot name for a while, you know, and a lot of times there's a hot name, right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, no revision,
Michigan, right?
Yeah, and here's. No revisionist history. Matt Patricia was a hot name. You know, I mean, let's not forget that. And it's funny how many of these hot names really don't do anything. This is one guy, Joy, Sean Payton. The hot name became a hot coach and had long-term success. But it's amazing how many of these guys, you know, they get not only talked about locally, but nationally, and it just doesn't work. Nobody thought, next to nobody, I should say, nobody thought that Matt Patricia wasn't going to get the job done. I mean, that was one of the hot names. Now, obviously, the other hot name ended up in Tennessee, and we know they got something good going on. But isn't that amazing sometimes with the hot name, Corey?
It is, but I'm going to, you know what? I'm a little bit different on this one because I was not a Patricia fan when he first came in.
Okay.
I wasn't big on him when they were talking about Patricia being the potential Lions head coach. I was like, if you want to go ahead and move away from Jim Caldwell, I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. But I didn't think that Patricia was the guy, and I especially didn't think he was the guy after Nick Foles and company put up 500 yards on his defense in the Super Bowl. So I was really like, okay, we're bringing this guy in? All right, that's what you want to do. But it is funny how a lot of times, you know, the hot guy or the guy that you want ends up being the person that you don't really need. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I know we think the Lions initially, look at Caldwell, the Lions initially wanted Ken Winselhut, and we didn't get him.
Yep.
And we backdoored into Caldwell, and that ended up working out better for us. I don't think Ken Winselhut, he didn't last 2 seasons in Tennessee, did he?
It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But are you surprised Coach Caldwell isn't coaching someplace?
Well, yes and no. He probably could be coaching somewhere, but he had that health scare, so I don't know if he's just taking time off to be with his family and just saying, you know what, I gave football enough. I want to get him on the show.
Love to talk to him.
I love to talk to him.
Classy guy. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Coach Caldwell. You better include the word class.
Period.
Yeah.
He's our Obama.
Hey, listen, and here's the thing with Coach Caldwell, and this is, one of the things I had some conversations with Bob Quinn early on, and I bought into Bob Quinn, period, end of story. I'm telling you right now, if you guys want to laugh at me, you go right ahead. I mean, some of the ideas that Bob Quinn had for the team and what he wanted to do, in particular through the draft, it just sang to my heart. But the one thing that sang to my heart as a lifelong Detroit Lion fan is when he said, something along the lines. This is before the whole Caldwell thing. The whole 9-7 isn't good enough. We have to aspire to be better. Because I can't tell you how many times, especially working in this business, but having conversations with friends of mine. My buddies are going, yeah, we made the playoffs and all that. And I was like, no, you got to want more because I know you guys want more.
Yeah.
I know 2014, yeah, it probably was the best Lion team of the last 20 years, but it could have been more. It should have been more. Hi, Des Bryant. Hi, Phantom Calls,
right.
Pickups and everything. But what's wrong with wanting to aspire more? And that was music to my ears.
No, it's true. Like everybody wants to have that perfect season. It was some games, and this is what I felt like we did. I felt like sometimes when we played certain teams that was a team that we felt we were, I guess, better than,
yeah.
We will play down to their level. Mm-hmm. And then when we play better teams, we'll play up to their level. I'm like, why can't we just pick a level and just stay there at that level? And I never could put my finger on it because we played hard, but we'll make simple mistakes. And I'm like, why do we make these mistakes when we play a lower tier team versus we playing a Green Bay? And I just didn't understand it.
That is spot on.
Yeah.
Honestly, Joik, that's music to my ears. That, to me, that summed up the Caldwell era. In regards, I think that last season, 2016, where you guys made the playoffs, and I know you rejoined the team later. Hey, listen, all's well that ends well, and oftentimes that year it did end well. But to me, it's like, why did you find yourself in that position to begin with? This is a team that you should have ran away from as opposed to waiting on 9 being a hero at the end of the game again.
Yeah, you know what? But sometimes we put ourselves in those positions, and honestly, I prefer that for this team, for when I played there, because we always played with a better urgency. We always figure out a way to win. For instance, New Orleans 2000 and what was that? It could have been 2014, where I think we were down by 3 touches, and then I think I ended up scoring a touchdown, and then Golden Tate gets like a 65 or 70-yard scamper off a catch and get it, and then we go down, we score again, and then we tied up, and then we end up winning the game at the end. That's when we play our best. I don't know why we can't play that way in the entire game.
It's a Detroit thing, huh?
It's a Detroit. And that's the coach, and we don't understand that because we've had that with Schwartz, and we also had that with Caldwell, and we just, even now, it's just like, why do we play that way now? Why can't we play that way in the entire game? I think the coach that we bring in will have to figure out that one thing, and then once we figure that out, then I think we'll be one of those culture teams where people will come in and there's going to be a winning culture.
I miss 15. You just mentioned him. I mean, that to me, that's Golden Tate. I mean, honest to God.
I love Golden.
The yards after catch. I mean, every time that guy touched the ball, you just had the feeling.
Magic.
Yeah, right? Even if it was just a 5-yard pass, his yak was just insane.
Yeah. I don't know. He's the way, when you look at him, you don't think if you look at his body structure, you won't think like that's Golden Tate.
Yeah.
Golden Tate is one of the most competitive teammates I ever played. Like, when I say competitive, I mean in every aspect, from playing pool to ping pong. Hey, and don't forget I beat you at your house. Twice. I got you. And so that's another guy I love to have on because we have like a lot of fun, man. I mean, I love him. I love Elise. Elise Poole, we love you. Just had another baby, so welcome. So I love Golden, man, just competitive nature. And he had that grit that we love, that competitive nature that you can't teach a person. It just has to be in you. So
great guy. Yeah, love chatting with him. He used to come up. We do the post-game shows, for the radio inside Ford Field and everything. He'd come up with the family. Great guy. Not only on the air, but off the air. I mean, one of those guys too, Joy, look you in the eye. When he talked to you, always looked you in the eye, on or off the air. I got mad respect for Golden, no doubt about it. It's funny that we're talking about playing to the level of competition and everything. Last night in the NFL was a subtle reminder, and I know we touched about it earlier, but I want to touch about it in greater detail tonight, right now. Last night was a subtle reminder. this is the National Football League, man, and parity is part of the game. And everything about last night's game screamed the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to end up winning the game by, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Pittsburgh was coming off a blah win against their bitter rival, the Ravens. They wanted to get the offense going a little bit. And, all props, total props to the Washington football team, because somehow, some way, this team has put together 3 straight wins, and the unbelievable story of Alex Smith continues. You don't know how he does it. He does it. He's done it for years in the National Football League. And Joik is a guy who's been through the wars and been through the battles. That injury is about as horrific as any of us are going to see. I'm sure even you players are sitting back going, you got to pull for a guy like that after coming back from that broken leg a couple of years ago. It's gone beyond a great story now. They're getting the job done.
Yeah, injury is just it's the nature of the beast of the game. And like I said, like to have that mental capacity to be able to come back and play and be successful, that's a great thing. It's a great thing for you. It's a great thing for the organization because now you're coming back and now you're basically betting on yourself.
Yeah.
But I really hope that he's able to come back and.
It's been unbelievable how well he's been playing too. It's crazy, and for them to win 3 games in a row. But your take on what happened last night. You've been in the league. I'll tell anybody that listen. Look, it's next to impossible to go 0-16. It's next to impossible to go 16-0. We've seen it happen both ways.
It's been more 0-16 seasons than 16-0s.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, 2. You got that right, and only the one 16-0, but. What was your take about Washington knocking off Pittsburgh? This is a National Football League. We shouldn't be that surprised.
I was disappointed. I know it's any given Sunday, but still, out of all teams, come on, don't lose to. Nothing against Washington, nothing against them whatsoever. But I think that Pittsburgh is playing at a higher level, and I thought that they really had that game sold up, and they came out and they just didn't produce. They didn't capitalize.
When you talk about culture, and that I've heard you use it a lot, and it reminds me of my buddy Darren McCarty, the former Red Wing. He uses culture all the time. I've heard you use it a lot. I would love what the Pittsburgh Steelers have had, and I know Steeler fans, you've only had the one Super Bowl in the last while and everything, but year in, year out, the Steelers are going to be in it. It is amazing to me, even when they don't look that good. They just find a way to grind things out and, finish 10-6 and get in the playoffs, finish 11-5 and get in the playoffs. Yeah. They're always in it. Long-term success is not easy in the National Football League.
It's not, and that's a testament to coaching, and that's what he brings to the team. If you have a coach that can bring out the best in you, the best in this team, those type of coaches are hard to find, to always have a shot no matter who's on the field. And you have a few coaches like that. You have a Belichick, you have a Sean Payton, you had when he was coaching Dungy. Like you don't find those coaches often, but you have a few teams that are blessed enough and fortunate enough to find those type of guys.
Yeah, it is amazing because I'll tell you what, the Steelers have not looked good the last couple of weeks. There's no other way to say that, but they've got a constant as well, not only with Coach Tomlin and that culture that you were talking about. Big Ben is a guy that keeps getting it done. I don't know how. He's had so many knee injuries alone. It's amazing. But that guy just keeps getting it done. You want to talk about a warrior. Roethlisberger has got to go near the top of the list.
That's a big guy. That's a big guy to take down. So I like Ben. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. He doesn't. You look
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I saw a meme. And they had 4 quarterbacks. It had Rodgers, had Mahomes, it had Russ, and then they had Ben. It had Big Ben. And they asked, one got to go. And the whole list was Ben. But he was the only undefeated quarterback at the time. So how can you get rid of Ben?
Right.
But honestly, I probably would have got rid of Ben too on that list. I like Ben though. Like, no disrespect Ben, but I gotta go with my guys. But no, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves in the league, around the league. But the players, Like as far as like the media, they don't give him the credit, but as far as players, we respect Big Ben. We respect him.
We got a special guest hanging on the line right now. Big Ten fans might remember him doing work at Indiana. We got to get his take on what's going on at his alma mater. Of course, Joik, you've got some familiarity with this guy as well.
Yeah.
Now again, a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Kindly joining us right now, Jordan Howard on the Baligian and Bell Show. And first of all, Jordan, really appreciate you taking the time this morning. How are you?
No problem. I'm good. How are you?
Nah, I can't hear him right now. Hopefully we'll get that up.
Come on, technical difficulty team.
We'll try to get that figured out momentarily. But Jordan Howard, what a great story, Joik. Again, coming from Indiana, doing some work in Chicago, moves on, got another opportunity for Philadelphia right now. And with everything in the NFC East being the way it is, hey, seemingly everybody's alive. You got a chance to play with him a little bit as well, right?
I did. That's Jordan is like my son. I'm joking. No, that's like my bro, man. Every time we call each other, we both say, "What's up, Junior?" "What's up, Junior?" So, we had a great relationship. So when I initially went to what was that? The Bears, and he was there. I didn't know why they even brought me in. I said, "This guy's a beast." I think at the time we had Raheem Mostert as well. It was Jordan Howard, but Raheem at the time was on practice squad, so he wasn't really playing. We also had Kadeem, and Jeremy Langford was on. He wasn't on IR, but he was hurt. He rolled his ankle, and so I came in. They liked me. I did a workout. Workout was all of a minute and a half. They said, "Oh yeah, we want to sign you." So I go sign the contract, and I meet the guys, and instantly me and Jordan clicked. I was kind of showing him, he was a great player, and I was just kind of adding to show him how to be a pro, and he was taking to it. He didn't have an ego. He listened, and he went out. He had a great season that
Sure
year,
did.
and then came out the following year, had another great season, and ended up signing the deal with Miami. And and this is me personally, I think he should have got way more carries in Miami. So I'm glad he's back with a team that knows his talent and that will utilize him the way he should be utilized.
Well, I'm glad he's miles away because I can shake my fist at Jordan for doing so much damage against the Lions. And I hope he takes that in the context in which I'm saying it. All right, let's try it again. Jordan Howard kindly joining us on Baligian and Bell. How are you, Jordan?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Really appreciate the time. Hey, man, you know what? An interesting scenario for you. Joik was just talking about it. I mean, you're a guy that you went to Miami. You get an opportunity there. Life in the NFL takes you back to some strange places. You're back in Philly. How's that process worked out for you?
It's worked out pretty well. Things just didn't work out in Miami. There's no one's fault, but I'm just glad to be back in Philly right now.
So how's it? So how's it now that you're back in Philly? Is this Howie brought you back in? How did that call go?
It went well. They just told me that once I got released, they were like, they don't really have any roster spots, but they can sign me on the practice squad and then they bring me up once I'm ready. So I'm like, that's cool because all the other opportunities I had with practice squad, so I might as well go back to somewhere I'm familiar with.
So you still have all your homeboys that's still there, and they was happy to see you?
It's still pretty much the same.
You know what's funny? The Jordan career is kind of similar to mine. So I ended up signing with Philly. Left Philly, went to the Colts, and then left the Colts and signed on to the Philly practice squad. And so for us to play on the Bears and him to kind of take the same route I kind of took, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And I didn't really think about it until this morning. Like, wow, he's back on Philly. And I think that's a good organization for you, though, Jordan. You see Slay? You tell Slay Joik Bell said what up.
All right, I got you.
about the life in the NFL. You know, Joik was saying he talked to you about, you know, the way things are, you know, tried to mentor you coming in. You've been in the league now a few years. I mean, nothing should surprise you, eh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Longer in this league, you understand like it's a business. People do things for different reasons. It might not have a reason that you understand or whatever, but you just got to take it how you go. But really just got to stay positive through it all because you never know how it's gonna shake out.
Really quick. Now, when we were in Chicago together, we were together quite a lot. So, I mean, from during practice, after practice, going to concerts, just that team camaraderie I love to have. And real quick, when we play, I will always give out little gems. Do you remember any gems I gave out when I was there? Did you learn anything from me when I was in Chicago?
I don't remember nothing. You talk so much. You talk so much I can't remember at all.
That's what you learn. You learn I play so much. You know what I'm saying? So you got to stay young.
Talk a lot. I can't remember everything.
Nothing.
Hey, Jordan, I know you're busy with life in the NFL, but you got to be a little fired up about what you're seeing at your old alma mater. What a season the Hoosiers are having.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're doing phenomenal things. Tom Allen, he's a great coach. I feel like he's the perfect coach for him. The players believe in him. They love him. They want to play hard for him. But yeah, they're doing some big things. I feel like they're just gonna keep doing better and better.
You know, did you have the feeling when you were there? I mean, we've seen so many teams, you know, kind of step it up in recent years. Michigan State stepped it up. Northwestern stepped it up. You know, years gone by, Wisconsin stepped it up. Did you feel when you went to Indiana, you were just waiting for that right guy to get Indiana going? Because, I mean, let's face it, Indiana's always been known as a basketball school, but now people are talking about you as a football school. Did you feel it was just waiting for that right guy like Coach to come in?
Oh yeah, I definitely think it was something like that because even when I was there, we played a lot of those big schools and we'd be close, and then at the end we just let it slip away from us and stuff like that. But I feel like as Indiana's gotten better, a lot of those other teams they haven't been as good recently. So Indiana's taking advantage of that, and it's like it's their time to shine now.
Good. Real quick, man, we appreciate you coming on the show today. Real quick. I will be seeing you in June, man. Catch you at my charity weekend. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
All right, man. Appreciate you for having me.
No problem.
Thanks, Jordan. Best of luck moving forward, my friend. All right, Jordan Howard kindly joining us. You know, that's the cool thing. Sometimes we get some surprises from some of Joik's friends. Jordan did some work against the Lions. I didn't even want to talk to him about it because it hurt my heart. But no, he did some work against the Lions.
He did, man. He was a really good running back, and I think they caught on to it towards the end of his contract with him. But Jordan did a lot of good work, man. I was happy for him. So when he got that deal with Philly and he did well there, I was happy to see it because I kind of knew the work he was putting in, and Raheem as well. So I'm happy for those guys.
Yeah, it's nice to see that success. You know what? Very quickly before we get into some of the action from last night, because I know you and I both feel the same way about one of the teams that played last night. We'll get to that momentarily. The shelf life of a running back. Man, growing up, and I think it goes for you as a kid as well.
2.7 years.
Right? It's incredible. I mean, when I was a kid, I'll go, you could name every running back on every team, right? The Bears had Walter Payton, Dorsett. There was Barry. There was, Emmitt Smith later for the Cowboys.
Eric Dickerson.
There was Franco Harris or Eric Dickerson. There were these guys that played for years, right? 7, 8, 9, 10 years. We don't see that in the National Football League anymore. Jordan Howard looked like one of those guys.
We have Frank Gore. We have
Frank
Peterson. We have Marshawn Lynch. We have a couple guys.
Yeah, but would you agree with me? They're few and far between now. I mean, back in the day, guys stuck around.
And now it's running back by committee.
Sure.
That's kind of what it is, because it's a lot of load to take and be consistent. And for the guys back in those days to do that consistently year after year, people say, well, Barry retired early. He played 10 years.
Yeah.
He played 10 years. And that was in the old school days when they had tour days and training camp started in March and not the OTA started in March and not, April, and they were there the whole, like when my godfather played, he said they would report in March and then they'll stay the whole time until training camp.
Tell everybody who your godfather is.
Maurice Burton. Maurice Burton. And they would stay the whole time. And he said, and some of the guys would have to get jobs. And so they'll do that and have to get jobs and go work. And so they really started, that's when they started, I think, the NFL strike back then. And he was a young guy, but those guys kind of paved the way for us, you know, as far as the bigger contracts.
Yeah, it's amazing because, you know, honestly, it looked to me like Jordan Howard was going to be, and I'm serious. I thought, okay, this guy's going to be another one of those running backs that's going to stick around and torture us for years. But, I mean, life in the National Football League, I mean, heck, Joik, even for you. I mean, this is a case where I think a lot of people look back and said, well, Joik's going to be here for years. It's almost like they want to keep that window this small, and it's time to upgrade with that running back by committee stuff?
Yeah, it's time to upgrade. I could have stayed longer. It was just the business side of it that we couldn't come to agreement on. So that's why I ended up leaving in the first place.
Yeah.
But ended up coming back at the end of the season for the last 5 games of the season, and I was able to come back, and that was kind of like my last stint here.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew it. Talked with Bob Quinn. He kind of knew it. He even said that if I played a few years and then I decided to retire, to give him a call, and he might have something for me in the front office. But I kind of knew I was probably done after like another year after that. But I didn't really officially let everyone know to probably like earlier this year.
Yeah.
And so, because it was getting to a point where like, when are you coming back? When are you still going to play? Oh, we need you. Like, nah, I'm done.
I was there that day.
Yeah.
I was at Wayne State. I was there that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, they had the ceremony at Wayne State.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think it was time, and I thought it was good to do it at Wayne State because for me, that's where it all started.
Sure.
That's where it all started, and so it was kind of cool that Bill Keenis and those guys helped from the Lions helped set up the press conference along with the AD from Wayne State and Coach Winters, and a lot of the people who were there when I played are still there. Rob Fourier, the AD for Wayne State, is really big on supporting and loyal to the people who's been loyal to the program, like the coaches, and so. They all came out, and they had a whole ordeal, and it was great. It was good. It was good to be able to go back home and feel that love and kind of end it there. And like, what's the next chapter for you?
Do you have any interest in front office? I know that came up in conversation. Is that something you'd want to explore somewhere down the line?
You know,
any interest?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but right now I just have so much stuff going on that I wouldn't be able to commit to it.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, in the future down the line, if something was to happen, I'll definitely take a look at it. But as of right now, I just wouldn't be able to commit to it.
He's Joik Bell. I'm Sean Baligian. So glad you could join us. Baligian and Bell, 11-1 here on Woodward Sports. I also want to take care of some housekeeping. Number one, you like this cap? You like that? Joik's got the cap on.
Got the cap on.
If you want some of that, go to woodwardsports.com. We've got the store open. We're getting the podcast out there as well. Just search Woodward Sports. You can check out the morning show. You can check out our show. We've got some more shows coming as well. I would love to tell you some of the happenings with the afternoon show. I can't. I'm sworn to secrecy, but it's going to be big. It's a guy that I have a lot of respect for in the broadcasting world, and we're looking at a guy that I think we all have a lot of respect for in the athletics world as well. Some other really cool shows are coming up. I have an inside source telling me there's going to be a barbecue show coming up. So be listening for that.
Make sure they have some vegan barbecue.
All right, we can do that, Joik. I can do that for you, I promise. I'll fire up the smoker in the backyard. We're going to talk about who Corey and I think are our top 5 teams in the NFL. We'll get Joik's take on that. But let's go back to last night, Joik. And you know what? I want to continue the conversation about Ben Roethlisberger. I've always respected Ben for his playing ability for this. He's a big target, man. And it's not like he's Mike Vick out there, okay? No. That little slide step that he does to avoid, I've watched that for years. I mean, here's this big target. You think to yourself, as big as that man is, and he's a massive man.
Feet.
Right?
Like feet.
You would think to yourself that he would get killed out there, and he just... that little slide step that he uses to avoid pressure, I'm amazed at it.
Did you ever see the clip of him in practice when he was, they have the drill when you drop back at quarterback and they throw the dummies at you and you got to step back you got to step forward, and they'll throw one this way, you step up. It was hilarious because they threw the first bag, and he literally hit it with his hand. They threw the second bag, he hit it, and then they threw the next one, he ran into it, and then he threw the ball. Like the complete opposite, but it works for him.
Yeah, right?
It works for him. It was just hilarious, man. It was funny, and I think he just has that athletic edge, but also that sense of humor to where he can relate to all the players, and he can pull the best out of each one of his players. And it's just having a guy like that on your team gives the whole team confidence, because there's not too many Super Bowl teams that's won without without having that great quarterback. And I think whenever he's out there, that team has that, they have that confidence, like, we got a shot.
Sure. Yeah.
We got a shot.
They could use a Joik Bell right now, though. They got to find a way to start running the ball a little bit, man.
I mean, we can talk about it. I mean, we can talk about it. See, give me a call. Just third down back. Just put me in on third downs. That's it. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you. Just third down.
You're pretty healthy otherwise, though, right? I mean, the wear and tear of the NFL is real. I mean,
I feel
it's real.
great.
Good.
Psych.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry to hear that, man.
No. So, but you hear a lot of things from a lot of players about. I hear some players they're fine. I hear other players say they wake up and they feel it in every step, like every step they feel it, and it's post career. But these players, we know what we sign up for. We know what we got to prepare for, and a lot of the guys they say they'll do it again. Some guys say, they might take another route, but I haven't heard a guy say that. Yeah. So.
I love the Bills, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because we know a guy in Buffalo. He's got history in Buffalo, but in case you're just joining us, Terry Heffernan is just a wonderful guy. Joik had him as a coach not only at Wayne State, but with the Lions as well. I got to know him as he was the offensive line coach here. Did a fantastic job with the offensive line in the GLIAC, and that helped lead to the opportunity not only in the National Football League, but in college football as well. But putting that aside, even if Terry Heffernan wasn't a member of the Buffalo Bills, I love that team, Joik. And that Josh Allen, it just makes plays. You don't know how he does it.
He just gets it done.
He just gets it done.
I love the kid. I love the kid. I love him. And he's getting all that time back there because he has a good coach like Tiff Heffernan down there coaching, helping coach online. But fun fact about Terry Heffernan, did you know before he became a coach, he was a stand-up comedian?
No, I did not.
You didn't know that?
I had no. Seriously?
No, I'm so serious. Hilarious.
I gotta hit Coach F up on that.
Listen, it was his job every Wednesday when we had to do the player depth chart for our opponents. It was his job to take each player and kind of make it humorous. And so he had to go through each player on their depth chart on defense and kind of come up with different jokes about each one, about the team, about the city, about the player, where he came from. And he did it every week, and it was hilarious.
I had no idea.
Even though weeks that we lost, and he has to come in the next week and talk about the other team. Like, listen, guys, we just, I'm not in a good mood, but this is my job, so I'm gonna do my job. So just bear with me. And then he'll go up there and just like a whole thing. It was hilarious, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he brought the whole room back to life, and we was able to focus on. It was great, and that was one of the things about having a team like that gets you up, and you're not really harping on the previous week with that bad taste in your mouth. You kind of focus on the next team. So
that's great.
I love Hef, man.
Yeah, you know what? I like that swagger, the whole Bills Mafia thing. I like everything about the Bills. I think people are really sleeping on that team. That's a team that might knock somebody off come playoff time. That nobody's expecting.
I would like to see it.
How great was it playing there? Because I went there one time. I drove there late in the '91 season and watched the Lions beat Jim Kelly and that great Bills team. Although the Bills were resting pretty much everybody. They had nothing to play for. I loved that atmosphere, the whole small town thing. Everybody talks about Green Bay. I get it. But to me, Buffalo is kind of like that Green Bay angle. What was that like for you?
When I went to the Bills, it was actually it was a good first step for me. We had a college, we had Georgia Tech coaching staff there, basically. They had hired Chan Gailey. And he brought that college mentality to the team, and so that's all I knew. And so the work that they was making us do in the weight room, I mean, I was used to it, but some of the players said, man, we're not in college anymore. But for me, it was just like, hey, this is what I'm used to, so it is what it is. And so it was a good experience for me. Rookies, we have a little bit harder. You know, we have to stay there a little bit longer after OTAs or after mandatory minicamp, like 2 extra weeks after mandatory minicamp than all the other players. And then we have to come in, I think, a little bit earlier for training camp and check in. And so that was a long rookie year for me, but it was good though. I liked the atmosphere there. The fans were great. They accepted when I came and play. I mean, people knew who I was, and I was a no-name guy, so it felt good to be somewhere where your talent is being noticed. And I think with all football players, we want that. We want that. We want to be noticed. So going to Buffalo, that Bills Mafia, there were some great fans.
Yeah, great fans, no doubt about it. You know what, the one thing that I do want to ask both of you guys, and Corey, I'm going to include you here as well, is the whole idea of having the 2 Monday night games. I love it. I've always felt, you know how they do it the first Monday of the year, they have the 2 Monday night games. I've always felt it would be great if they went to that. I've heard more and more people talk about it. I've seen the voice of the Red Wings, Ken Cal. Shout out to Ken Cal. Ken's been talking about it a lot on Twitter, and it's funny because, you know, a lot of people go, well, you don't want to start the game too late. For you kids out there, Monday Night Football used to start at 9 o'clock. Growing up for me, Monday Night Football was not at 8, was not at 8:25. It was 9 o'clock, and it was a miracle if my dad would let me stay up to halftime to watch, you know, Howard Cosell's halftime highlights and everything.
Right.
So, first of all, before I ask you what it's like to play in primetime, are you guys down with that? Corey, are you down with that?
I'm down with whatever. I can never get enough sports, so if it's on at 10 o'clock, I'm good. I'm going to be up watching it. I can't remember. I think Monday Night Football did come on around 9 o'clock when I grew up. I'm a little bit older than I look, but I believe it did come on around 8, 9 o'clock, and I was used to watching it pretty late. I think like with an 8 p.m. pregame show.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm cool with it being at 9 o'clock. I like the doubleheader idea. Never can get enough football, so I'm fine with it.
Could you do 6 and 9? Joik, what do you think about that? 6 and 9, 1 game at 6, 1 game at 9. Let's go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. I like it, honestly. I mean, like, you can't get enough of football. I mean, we only get it for 16 weeks for regular season, and then for a pro season, and for I mean, we get it, but I like it, you know. And so I think it gives the fans more to look forward to, and it gives the football fans more to kind of dig into, especially with the fantasy points.
What's it like playing for you on, you know, you hear guys talk about it all the time, the prime time game. I mean, is there an extra level of hype there? You guys are up for every game, but.
It is. So because, like, the eye in the sky don't lie, right? So you're being recorded every game, but, you know, not every game is nationally televised, right? And so when you have those games that's nationally televised and you're the only game on, and it's late at night when everybody's at home not doing anything, you know that the world is watching that one game. You're the only thing on. And so you try to bring your A game for that game. Like, you try to bring it for every game, but you have like a little edge for that particular game, especially if you're playing like a team that you don't like.
You know, it's funny, I was talking to a Lion, and I don't know if he wants me to share this conversation, so I'm going to keep it to myself, and I'll
he wants
keep
you to
him,
share it. He wants you to share it.
I'll keep him unnamed. How's that? Because I wouldn't do that. You like that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we just don't say any names. Only you and him know who it is.
You got it, but I'll tell you afterwards. But anyway, all jokes aside, he was saying, you know, one of the things that was impressed on him when he got here that he didn't understand is how important Thanksgiving is. You know, and some of the veterans kind of pulled him aside and said, listen, I don't think you get this. Not only is it big to this franchise, but it's big to the fan base. I mean, Thanksgiving is ours. You knew that growing up. What was that experience like? Because, I mean, Thanksgiving's something different, man.
It is. So we will have, I mean, I didn't really realize how big it was until I became a part of it. I always knew it was part of the coach, but never knew how big it was. And when I became a part of it, and I think my first one was against the Texans in 2012.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of talk. Oh, they haven't won a Thanksgiving game in however long. And so I remember that's the one game out of the year where I get all of my family tickets to the game, and they all will come up. And then my mother and a lot of the women in the family would stay back, and and some of the guys who like cooking and enjoying would stay back, and they'll finish making Thanksgiving dinner. And then when the game was over, the whole family would head back to my house, and I might have like 45 to 50 people all at my house, and we're eating dinner. Now we're watching Dallas play, and now I get to kick my feet up in my Norm Attack and do my post game my post game rehab and just kind of chill with the family and enjoy it. And the 2013 Thanksgiving was a lot better than 2012.
Yeah.
We won that one. So
I remember 2012. That's the flag.
Yeah.
Short throwing. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I'm already starting to cringe a little bit. All right, so let's move on. Joik, you get to pick us apart here. I asked Corey to put together his top 5 in the NFL right now. Corey, I'm going to start with you first, and I'll go second. If I ask you Corey's top 5 in the league right now, who you got?
Are you going 5 to 1 or are you going 1 to 5?
Go 5 to 1. Go 5 to 1.
Are we giving an explanation?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, throw in anything you want.
I got the Packers at 5.
Ooh.
I just think, they're in the NFC North is what it is. Not a bad division. It's always been a tough division to me. But Aaron Rodgers has been owning that division since he stepped on the field. I have the Bills at 4. I think Josh Allen just kicking tail.
Love the guy.
Last night, 375 yards, 4 TDs, 131 rating, 5th in the league in passing yards, top for 6 TDs, just balling. Steelers, I put the Steelers at 3rd. I think that you can't really, fault a team for winning, but they're not as fraud. Oh. The whole time they had me cut off, so I got to start all over again.
I didn't even know. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
They set me up for failure. No, that's my fault.
All right,
no, let's start back over.
People out there, okay.
So, at 5, I have the Packers. Again, I said Aaron Rodgers is running the division as he always has since he's first stepped on the field. The NFC North is not as strong as it could be, but you can't fault him for that. I have the Bills at 4. Josh Allen's kicking butt, 5th in the league in passing yards, tied for 6 with touchdowns.
Love Josh.
Now I can get back into it. The Steelers, like I said, you can't fault anybody for winning, but I think they're a lucky 11-1 team. Then I have the Saints at 2. That was tough for me to do. Honestly, it was real tough for me. I was back and forth between the Saints and the Steelers, but I just went ahead and gave the Saints the edge. Taysom Hill has looked decent.
Yeah.
Both games have been against the Falcons that he's looked the best in. But at 1,
Chiefs.
I got the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
So you don't got the Seahawks in there?
You know what?
They the stock's going down a little bit, right?
I like Russell Wilson. I like what the Seahawks are doing, but he hasn't looked as good as he has to start the season as he has on the back end. So if I had to put the Seahawks, I would have them look outside looking in at 6.
He the interesting thing, he was on pace early in the season to go for over 60 touchdowns. If you remember, he was on a torrid pace, and they've kind of gone like that. I watched them the other day. They looked like absolute garbage against the Giants. I mean, they really did. They looked like absolute garbage against the Giants. It's funny. I could show you we got the exact same order. Honestly, it's funny you say. I have Cleveland just on the outside looking in. I wasn't a believer in Cleveland until what they did to Tennessee on Sunday. What they did to Tennessee was real, and they nearly blew it. I still have questions about their defense, but when you punch a good team like Tennessee in the mouth, and I think that Tennessee team is a damn good team. Derrick Henry, smashing people every week, right? I got to give Cleveland some respect. I'm not putting them in the top 5, but I have them just on the outside looking in. And Baker, say what you will, the ups and downs, that's a signature win to beat the hell out of Tennessee the way that they did on Sunday.
I have nothing to add. I was not a big Baker believer.
Who was your 4?
We both had
the Bills.
We both had the Bills at 4. We both had the Bills at 4. Yeah.
I got Packers.
Yeah.
I got Packers at 4.
It's 12.
I got Bills
I'm not
at
going
5.
to argue with that.
I got everything else is the same, but I got Packers at 4.
Okay.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, and the reason I say because if you put those two together, Aaron Rodgers, I feel Aaron Rodgers is gonna pull it out.
It's Aaron Rodgers.
I think he's gonna pull it out against a team like that, and they're playing at a high level. And I like what the Bills are doing. I really do. But when you have Aaron Rodgers on the field and you have two teams that's that close, I think he's gonna pull it out.
When is Aaron Rodgers going to retire, please? There's another guy that haunts my memory and haunts my dreams.
How old is he now? 30?
I think he's 37, right?
37?
37, 38?
Yeah,
look it up and fact check this. He might be 38. He might be 38.
Yeah, 38,
37.
37.
He just turned 37 on the 2nd.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, he has a good 4 or 5 more years
right?
left.
I mean, that's
He has another contract. He has another contract.
It's so unfair to running backs.
And he's not, and he's not taking that many hits. He's not taking that many hits.
Do you think it's because of the way the NFL has now changed to protect the quarterback more that he's able to play a little bit longer, like Brady has been able to play longer than maybe you could say he should have?
Yeah, but when you're being productive at that age, it's just like saying Frank Gore, he's being productive. Adrian Peterson, he's being productive. I mean, we need to stop putting the age on players and just say, listen, is he being productive or is he not being productive? I don't care how old you are, So, yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, here we are. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we would have been talking about Tampa being up there, and they've stepped back. Do you guys in the league sit back with awe and look at a guy like Tom Brady for doing what he's done for as long as he's done it? I mean, Joy, to me, guys aren't supposed to play that long, right? And we're starting to see
in this sport.
Yeah, right. In this sport, you're not supposed to. And we're even seeing it. No diss, because I know you played with him and you respect him. He's 43 years old. He was drafted the year 2000. So yeah. I mean it's crazy.
15th year.
Tom Brady?
No.
Brady. I thought you said don't talk to stuff.
No. Brady. Yeah,
stop it. He
was drafted.
That was 15 when I was playing.
Brady was drafted 2000. He's 43 years old. I mean, it's insane.
That's crazy.
And again, no diss, because I know you played with him and you got mad respect for him. But Drew Brees has shown his age a little bit this past season, and there's a reason why people are talking about, has he lost some of his arm strength?
He never had arm strength.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, right?
Yeah, he's never had like that. I'm gonna throw a 60. That's never been him. He's gonna kill you within like 40. Kind of like Tom Brady. He doesn't have that long 60.
No.
But you don't need that. Not in this league. Like, you can pick people apart, and from 50 on in, 40 yards on in, his accuracy is ridiculous. He probably has some of the best accuracy out of any other.
Absolutely.
So I remember when I played with Drew Brees. After every practice, we would have these competitions to where they might put some trash cans on back of the Gators, and they'll ride them across the field. You got to try to hit the trash can as they're driving across the field, and whoever hits the most wins. And so I would do it just to say, I'm out here competing against Drew Brees, and we had Chase Daniel as well, Sean Canfield. I don't know if you remember him, the left-hand quarterback. After practice, we'll all go out there. We'll have a competition. Now, I remember the tight end coach would come to me and say, "Hey, listen, don't bat with those guys now. I mean, it might be fun, but it's gonna pile up on you." I said, "I'm not bad money. I'm just doing it for fun. I'm a practice squad. I'm not really getting any. I'm not getting money anyway." So it was a good time though. But he might be getting up there in age, but his accuracy and his leadership skills are unmatched, unparalleled.
It's funny. People, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, a lot of the national shows, I don't want to say they were killing him, but they were really talking about Brees, and exactly the way you just said. Look, this isn't a Mad Bomber type of guy, but even some of those intermediate throws that he's thrived on in the past, people who are questioning how much is there. I mean, look what the Saints are doing right now. End of story. That's why I have the Saints at number 2 as well, even without Brees. But a guy like Brady, and certainly he isn't the same guy he was even 2-3 years ago, but he's still playing at a high level. It was funny. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, and he was like, "Brady's done it." And I was like, "What are you talking about? He's still on pace for 30-some-odd touchdowns. He's helping Tampa win. What are you talking about?" Are you guys amazed at that? Because the shelf life, especially for you running backs, as we talked about earlier, is so small. For a guy at 43 years old to keep himself in that type of shape and keep doing as he's doing, that's got to be mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing, and it's a mindset. right? It's a mindset. So I had never played with Tom Brady. Played against him. I played with players that have played with him, and they said the way that he works out is unmatched. He said he will come out and they'll either be doing some type of conditioning test or they'll be doing the hills, and he's up and he's, let's go. And he probably won't win them, but he's pushing them. He's pushing the team. He always had that mentality of, that chip on the shoulder. Like, I'm getting older, but I can still run with you. I can still run with the young guys. I can still go. And you can see it in this play. You can see it in this play. And he's going to go down as one of the greats.
No doubt. It's funny you say that, because the first thing that popped in my mind was Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice, who is the best receiver ever. I don't care what anybody says. No diss to Calvin. No diss to anybody. Jerry Rice is the best receiver ever, period, end of story, and I won't hear anything else about it. But isn't it funny that those guys, everybody talks about the workout that Jerry Rice would put the guys through. And even the younger players, when Jerry was later on in his career, would go, what's this crazy old guy doing? I mean, he's kicking our butt. But that's something synonymous with the greats.
It is. It's a work ethic that you kind of learn over time. You kind of learn, it's so many different workouts you can do, right? You have to figure out what workout is the best for my position, is the best for me. And over time, they always say you have your trainers, you have your weight room trainers, you have your dietitians, you have your nutritionists, you have all these different aspects of the game. But this is a term that is really true. Nobody knows your body better than you. So there's certain things that I would do that my trainers wouldn't have me do, because I knew this is what worked best for me. And I would see results in my playing, in my body, and in my figure off doing these certain things. And so those are the things I learned for me. And for Jerry, to perfect it and then learn how to sustain it over a period of time is remarkable.
Yeah.
For the guys who have those long careers, like Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson, those guys, they cracked the code. They cracked the code.
That's a great quote. Crack the code.
They cracked the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish you could share that with people. All right, another NFL game. We're going to move on. Another NFL game tonight as well. Dallas and Baltimore. I'm going to watch it because it's the NFL, but I don't have any interest in it. I mean, look, Baltimore's another one of those teams. You take Lamar Jackson out of the equation, and even though Lamar wasn't having Lamar type of season, they were flat out unwatchable last week with RG3 at the helm. Make no mistake about that, but that is tonight. I want to talk to you guys about something, and Corey, you and I have never had this conversation, but I'm going to bring you in here. It is Michigan-Ohio State week, and it is amazing to me how little talk there is, how little hype there is. And I get it, they're at two different places. And that's not a shot against Michigan, because at Ohio State's at two different places than everybody else in the Big Ten. It's been that way for some time. Obviously, we still have to figure out if a game itself is going to be played this weekend. But Joik, in case you missed it, Joik grew up a big Michigan fan, still considers himself a big Michigan fan. Joik, I get it. Some of the luster, some of the shine has come off the rivalry, but I think what makes college football so great is the tradition, is the history, is those rivalries. Yeah. I don't have a horse in the race. I don't care about either one of them, but I'll tell you what, it's Michigan, it's Ohio State. It's still Michigan week.
It still is Michigan week. So it's funny because I would hear stories about back in the day when they had Schembechler, and the stories about when they were
Owen Woody.
Yeah, and so I heard this story and it made me laugh. So I think they were playing in Ohio. I can remember what year it was, and they had the night before the game they have like the team dinner, and so they're having a team dinner. And the waitresses or the waitresses that were serving their food were beautiful young ladies, gorgeous. And Bo in the middle of the dinners got up and said, I want all these girls out of here. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to distract my players. Get them all out. Give me all old people. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that story, and it had me dying. It had me dying. But it's stories like that and traditions and games like that that make you really want to tune in.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited.
I've told everybody that'll listen, and as I said, I've never been a fan of either. I respect the tradition of both of them, and obviously respect what Ohio State's doing right now. But as somebody who loves college football, and I'm fortunate enough to be a Heisman Trophy voter, as somebody who loves college football, if you don't love Michigan and Ohio State, it's not their fault. I mean, that's your fault, because this, to me, is part of what makes college football so great. I got one for you, and again, so much of this stuff has become the stuff of legend, but there's the story that Woody Hayes was on a recruiting trip up here, and he was with one of his assistant coaches, and they get done, they think, they got this guy, and they're driving back into Ohio, and the gas is very close to empty. And he's like, I'm going to stop. The assistant coach says to Woody, I'm going to stop, and I got to get some gas. We're going to run out of gas. And Woody says, you're not stopping in Michigan to get gas. We're not making any unnecessary stops in Michigan than we have to. You get your damn gas in Ohio. I mean, that's how deep those roots were and everything, right? I mean, that's the beauty. Corey, do you have a horse in the race? Were you a Buckeye fan growing up, Michigan fan growing up, or kind of indifferent?
Michigan fan to the core.
Yeah?
I've always grew up a Michigan fan. It's just been a thing of mine, especially when I was up in going to Eastern. Actually, we were right down the street from U of M. So
7 miles.
Couple of my fraternity brothers were over there. Over in Ann Arbor Pioneer parking lot, would have a tailgate. It was always a really good time.
You a mega sci-fi?
Whoa.
No. You a Kappa?
Yes, sir.
You a Kappa?
Yes, sir.
I would have took you as a not a Kappa. What's the other one?
Just don't do it. Don't do it to me.
What's that one?
Oh no. Man, you say I look like an iota?
You like iota.
Oh, you know what, man? I'm about to just cancel this whole feed, man. I'm going to be honest.
You know what, though? It's crazy how people...
You know what? I'm going to be honest. That is probably the most disrespectful thing you can ever say to me.
Damn.
Yeah, it is. When you call a guy from a fraternity another fraternity, this is the utter disrespect.
But just iota, that would hurt.
No, real talk. I'm just playing. It's more of a signal,
All right, so
but you know what? Everyone feels the exact same way he feels when you call him something else. Like it's
sheer disappointment.
College gangs. That's what they are. They're college gangs.
You know what was really cool for me, and I want to ask you both about what's going on at Michigan. What was really cool for me, I've told people this for years. My first job in the media after growing up in Livonia, I got a job down in Toledo, right?
Right.
It was awesome down in Toledo. It was, you know what? It was like I was on the front lines for all the Michigan-Ohio State hate. And it was funny, as a guy that didn't have a horse in the race, I would get you all hyped up and tick you. Are you going to let him talk that way about you? Are you going to let him? And this was during the 90s when, it was still a thing where it was, we were kind of moving out of the Big 2, Little 8 kind of mindset of the Big 10. Those days were slowly coming to an end, and those days are over. They've been over for a long time. But they were still at such a high level, and back then, it was always Michigan that seemed to find a way to ruin Ohio State's season, I mean, and then finally Michigan, punched through in '97 and got their championship and everything. But Joik, I'm going to tell you what, that was always so much fun to me, because watching the venom come from both sides and, on those front lines in Toledo, I mean, it's part of what makes that one of the best rivalries in all of college football.
Now, I'm going to throw something at you real quick. What is the biggest rivalry in college football? Not the longest. What's the biggest? Because usually it's all, I guess it's all objective.
I think now, and I've changed my opinion on this in recent years because of, the state of Ohio State, and I think it's Alabama and Auburn.
You think it's Alabama? Well, who you got, Corey?
I was just about to say the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
I think Alabama and Auburn is taking the threshold. We'll taking the title.
Is it because of the competitive nature of the Michigan Ohio State game now? Because
that's a big part of it.
I think so. I think when Michigan was actually in the games and you actually thought they had a chance to win the game, nothing beat Michigan and Ohio State. Like, I think that was the rivalry. But now when Michigan has been getting their teeth kicked down their throat for the past decade, it's like it's taking the luster away.
Yeah, it probably has. So When you were at Eastern, was Ohio State, Michigan your favorite at that time, or was it not?
The rivalry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Especially if you're, especially when Ohio State came to U of M. There's nothing like being in Ann Arbor on a Saturday morning for college football. But during that rivalry, it was just.
You know the thing.
Go ahead.
No, Joy. You know what I was going to say along the points of what Corey was saying, if I may, very quickly. Okay, Michigan doesn't like Ohio State. Ohio State absolutely hates with every fiber of their being Michigan. It's different. I don't care what anybody. I've watched it up close and personal. It's like, I get it. You guys as Michigan fans, you don't like Ohio State, okay? They hate you. Like every fiber of their being hates you. And I think that's what made the rivalry so strong for so many years. You know what? They don't hate you anymore. Mm-hmm. They hate you, but they don't hate you. Does that make sense? Because they look at you as another exit on the way to greater national glory and everything, and that's why I think the rivalry's changed.
Before it used to be
like. That's a good point, Sean.
Before it used to be like, oh, they, like you said, they hated Michigan because it's like, crap, we got to go against them, or we just hate Michigan. Now it's kind of like they almost like, we pity them a little bit, but we still don't like them. But whatever,
yeah,
we'll just walk on.
I think they hate you because they're supposed to hate you.
They're supposed to.
Yeah, it's
just supposed to really hate you.
The monkeys in the ladder thing I gave you.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
It's
absolutely.
It's what it is. Like why don't we like you? Because you, I don't know, we're just supposed to not like you. Yeah, that's just what it is. Versus having the collars on and being shocked for sure when you walked up that ladder. So it's I think it's that analogy right there, but. I don't know. I still think it's the biggest rivalry. I mean, the competition isn't there, but I think the tradition is so rich. It's so rich that and I'm from up here, so I grew up watching it.
Absolutely.
So that was huge to me.
Yeah.
I think the most physical game I've seen was the year, I think, was it Michigan when they played Miami? When they had, or was that Ohio State and Miami? When they had the big bowl game.
Oh, for the championship?
For the championship.
When Mo Claret was there. Oh, it was unbelievable.
Was it Maurice Claret? It was Yep, it was Maurice Claret, and they was going against Willis McGahee. I think that's the game he broke his leg.
Yeah, he did. Oh,
that was.
There's another one. Ooh.
Yeah, that was
my
brutal.
knee aches looking at it, man.
Yeah, that was a physical game.
That was a great game.
That was a physical game.
Yep.
I'll probably put that top 5.
That was a great game.
I think I'll put that one of my top. That was a great game. And I think that's when they showed that we compete up here.
Well, you know what? It's not going to take much to reignite this rivalry. It just isn't. I mean, when you have a tradition that long, and Joik, I think you guys both said it best. We grew up with this. Even we guys that look, I was a Spartan fan my entire lifetime, as long as I can remember.
Hey, my son would love you.
Tell him to come over. Tell him Uncle Sean will cook some barbecue for him. I'll make some good barbecue. No, but you know what? I respected Ohio State and Michigan because it always meant something big. So you wanna spark something, and by all means, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you want to reignite this rivalry? Have Michigan beat Ohio State this week. Could you imagine what that would do to this rivalry?
You see that happening?
Thing would no way, no how, no zero zilch.
Yeah. As long, I'm just going to go out and say it, as long as Don Brown is the defensive coordinator for Michigan, no. I don't see Michigan.
So hold up. So when you were there, you and your frat brothers ever go?
Oh, to the games?
Yeah.
We couldn't actually get in that game, but we were definitely down in that area for that tailgate.
Yeah.
It was.
So hold up. So when did you cross?
2008.
2008 spring.
Yes.
Oh, man, congrats. Hey, shout out to all my Divine 9 people out there, man. It's all love, man. Love you guys. I had a lot of friends from them, a lot of friends, and they tried to get me in there a couple times, but I just couldn't go through it, man.
Shout out to the Wooden Nickel while I'm at it, since Eastern came up. Shout out to the Wooden Nickel. Yeah, I worked at the Wooden Nickel, Corey. We can have some conversations. I worked at the Wooden Nickel.
What's that? Is that like a bar?
Yeah, it was a bar.
It's a bar, and everything happened at the Wooden Nickel.
Everything happened
at Wooden Nickel.
I think that's part of the reason why it's been closed for so long.
Yeah.
A lot of bad things happened.
They closed down?
Wooden Nickel's been closed for about a good decade plus.
Easy.
A spot called Wooden Nickel. I'm not surprised.
No, you know what's interesting though is about this Michigan and Ohio State thing. It's one of those games I would challenge anybody, and I do this every year, and maybe we'll have some fun with it. Games that you have to see in state, whether it be, Grand Valley and Ferris. We can talk from the GLIAC point of view, what those guys are doing. Come down to Tom Adams when, they host Ashland, whatever the case may be. Yeah. You got to go to a Michigan-Ohio State game. I haven't seen one, believe it or not, in Ann Arbor. I saw one down in the Shoe. I was down in the Horseshoe. I saw them in '96 when Ohio State got upset by Michigan. I was at that game, but I haven't been to one in Ann Arbor. But that's a game if you call yourself a college football fan, you got to see a Michigan-Ohio State game. There's just, it's that old saying. It's like we were talking about with Thanksgiving, Joy. There's just something different in the air. You can't put your finger on it. There's just something different in the air.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Corey? Is something different in the air?
When hold on, the feed kind of went out a little bit. What'd you say?
For Michigan and Ohio State, there's just something different in the air when you're in that building. You can't put your finger on it.
It's a whole different type of energy. It's like you can feel the tension, especially when both of the teams, when both of the fan bases are around each other. You can just kind of like, yeah, we gotta play nice because we're in your backyard. There's more of y'all fans here, but we don't like y'all. Like they're just walking up and down State Street, Southview. It's just tension, but it's like it's fun. You feel like it's the real. I might have to flip back, man. That rivalry, that might be better than be the best rivalry. It's just because I've either lived it as a student of U of M, but just being a fan and being in that area, it's nothing like it.
Yeah. It's because when I was in New Orleans, we would have this debate with and I'm in the city, so whenever I go to, I'm in the city, so I'll talk with people in the city who were football fans that were at a certain event, and we'll have this conversation about what's the best rivalry. And I will always say U of M and Ohio State. Some people will say Navy and Army. Some people will say the Alabama-Army game, and they'll go to the point to where it's getting physical, like it's real deal in Alabama. Like things happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, things happen.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, things happen.
They kill trees, for goodness sake. Remember that psycho that killed the famous tree a couple years ago down in Auburn? He poisoned the tree at Toomer's Corner. They have this famous tree where people after the game for years down in Auburn, they go to what's called Toomer's Corner, right? And they toilet paper this tree. It's been there. It's this old, I forget the name of the tree, okay? And this psycho Alabama fan got so ticked off at a loss, he went there and poisoned this tree, killed the tree. That dude did time for it and everything. I mean, that's crazy stuff, man. Oh yeah, I'll show you. I'll poison your famous tree. Like what the heck's wrong with you, man?
Hey,
I mean, that's how intense it is down there.
Those are the fans that I don't even know what kind of fans. The toxic fans?
Yeah, I don't even know if you use the word fan as much as you use the word psycho.
Yeah, psycho fan.
You know what? And I know you guys, you may take offense at this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do you know what I think has moved up, and you guys don't want to admit it? Ooh. I think Michigan State has moved up in the last few years. I really do. And now hear me out.
No, that's always been a rivalry.
But I think it's moved up above Ohio State, and I'll tell you why.
What?
I know why.
Listen. You guys, this is the analogy I've always used. Your next door neighbor, the Michigan State Spartan fan, cannot be found on college football Saturdays for years. You're out doing yard work, you're washing your car. You never see the Michigan State fan, right? You never see him. And then suddenly, about 10 years ago, all of a sudden, there's your next door neighbors. It's like the dude from The Simpsons. Hidely ho, neighbor. He's got his state shirt on. He's got his flag. Suddenly, he's washing his car. Suddenly, he's doing some yard work. And he goes, hey, did you watch the game today, Joy? Did you watch the game today, Corey? Yeah. And suddenly, they took
What's the record
from you?
MS? Dude, can we pull that up? Can we figure out the overall record? Because I don't think they got enough wins to be a.
No, but here's the thing.
I think they're just both in Michigan. They're both big schools. MSU is a bigger school, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, for recent years, because Michigan State has had the edge, they took from you what was a birthright.
The tradition isn't long enough
Okay. Well,
to be bigger than Michigan.
Well,
Let's take a poll on that. I'm gonna put that on my. What's
I
the
love
big?
that.
I'm gonna do a poll on my IG, and we'll talk. We'll bring that
you've
back up tomorrow.
dominated.
Michigan leads the series 71-37-5.
Absolutely.
That's not even. No, that's
See,
not that big.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. In recent years, because they've had more success against you, it's pissed off Michigan fans for the exact reason you're saying.
Everybody's
You've
had success against
dominated
Michigan
little
right
brother.
now.
That's well, but doesn't it bother you that it's Michigan State more? Because they've always been quote unquote little brother.
In football, yes, but
Yeah.
in basketball, they're the big dogs. So if you look at the history in basketball, who leads that?
Let's go on that.
Yeah,
let's figure that out because I would say, like I said yesterday, what Michigan is in football is what MSU is in basketball. They have that rich tradition of winning. You know, even when they weren't supposed to go to the Final Four, they made it all the way to
so many times.
And they figure it out.
So many times.
You know, you have a coach like Tom Izzo. He figures out. He's our up north Coach K. You know, so
I got that pulled up too. You ready?
yep.
All time in the basketball, Michigan leads 94-85.
Oh, that's close.
And that's 20 years of pretty much dominance by Michigan State, too. Isn't that crazy? 20 plus years. I mean, that goes to show you, how bad it was. But, I mean, I think you guys are understanding the point that I'm making. Ohio State is always going to be Ohio State. That's always going to be your top dog. I think Michigan State pisses off Michigan fans more because we all grew up. You just knew that maybe Michigan State would beat them 1 out of 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And in recent years, what you've seen that span where they won in 8, they won in 9, they won in 10, they won in 11. Michigan came back in 12. Then Spartans had 13, 14, 15, and they've kind of gone back and forth during the Harbaugh regime.
Cool. What's the so I'm thinking because if Michigan State and Michigan is that 75 or
71-37.
yeah 71,
Yeah.
and the U of M in Ohio State was probably 95, 93 Michigan. Like
They're above by a little bit now. They were because Ohio State's had this streak. Corey, fact check me. I think they're up by 3 wins. I could be wrong.
Who,
right
Ohio
off the top
State
of my
or
head.
Michigan?
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's only
still
like
on
2 or
top.
3.
Yeah.
It's only like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Is
Fact
it?
check me there, but I know because of the years of dominance now, and again, don't take this personally, Michigan fans.
It's 55, 58, 51, and 6.
Okay, all right, so it is a little bit longer than that, 58, 51, and 6. But look, that's not a shot against you, Michigan. The conference is Ohio State's playground. It just so happens Michigan State is the one team that's beaten them a couple times in recent years. But to me, I mean, the greater overall point, look, it's still the game. I can't wait to watch it. As a college football fan, as somebody that doesn't have a rooting interest, and I'm going to say it again, I couldn't care less who wins that game. It has no bearing on my life whatsoever. I'm not one of those guys, screw you, Michigan, I want Michigan to lose. I'm not one of those guys. I don't care. I don't care for either one of them. I can't wait to watch a game because
Sean, you're from
it's Michigan and Ohio State. But I'm a Spartan. Come on.
Sean,
I got to show some. All right, I'm Michigan. State.
Hold on. So you went to school at MSU?
Nope. Just grew up. When I was a kid, Michigan State hockey in particular, Ron Mason was like, oh, and I got a chance to know Ron. So because of that, I was always a Spartan fan. Always.
Okay, I was just trying to understand your love for the Spartans, which I'm not against it because I'm just trying to figure out for the love of me. If you're in Michigan, I don't understand why you'll go for Michigan because they represent the Michiganders.
Well, it was. You know what I always say? It was easy to root for Michigan because they never had a bad season growing up for me. Never. There was never. I mean, their idea of a bad season. They had a 6-6 season the year that Harbaugh broke his arm, and that was '84. So that was their worst season, 6-6. I mean, they always won. So it's almost like it was easy to be a Michigan fan, and I get that because kids want to root for a winner, and Michigan was the winner, and that's why you asked me yesterday. Do you have a favorite bowl? It was '87 after years of watching other teams have success. When Michigan State won the Big Ten, it was Christmas Day. It was Christmas Day.
I was 10 when Tom Brady was with, actually 9 when Tom Brady was with U of M. Mm-hmm. And so I remember watching him when I was like 9 at U of M. Man, time flies.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And he's still playing to this day.
Let me ask you guys. You guys are Michigan fans, so you're gonna probably be able to answer this better than I can. And this goes for you as well, Corey. Why isn't it working at Michigan? Do you guys have any theories? Because I thought for sure.
I don't think it's coaching. I just think it's. I don't know what it is. I don't
either.
It could be coaching. It can be the talent. It can be. I don't know.
I don't. It's really odd. I thought, the Rich Rod stuff was pathetic. I mean, really, the 3-3-5, all that stuff. I mean, and the fact that people were talking about this, and growing up here, you're running a 3-3-5 defense up against the Big Ten. Good luck with that, slugger. Yeah. It wasn't going to work. And Brady Hoke, they had the 1 year, but obviously that guy wasn't a head coach. I thought when Jim Harbaugh came here, I was like, you know what, Michigan State, you had your fun for a few years. It's all going to end. And I'll go back to something that Don Brown is the most overrated defensive coordinator in the history of man. And it's not that long ago, and some of you guys are guilty of it. I was called a hater for saying stuff like that. Oh, typical Sparty, you always have to. Don Brown has been so overrated. You can beat up the less than teams.
It's the facial expressions for me. Do it again.
Hater Sparty. Yeah, right? But that's
just Sparty.
You hear that stuff, and it's like, time and time again, I'd always tell people, dig deeper. You can beat up those less than teams, but when you are getting lit up against good teams and good offenses, as much as they did, I was like, why aren't people talking about that? Because you're measured by what you do in big games.
That's true.
I'm not going to act like I know more football than Joik, but I've never seen a defense get lit up by crossing patterns so much like Don Brown's defense.
It's incredible.
At that middle of the field, man, it's tough, man. You know what, though? But and we had a saying, though, and this is the defense saying, that if they catch the ball coming across the middle, let them catch it, but make them pay for it. And I don't think we're making them pay for it.
Yeah.
They coming across the middle, catching it and getting enough. Like, I don't see it, man. We used to take heads off. I mean, we can't do it anymore. But, I think you have players now that are scared to lay those hits because of the new rules, or the new targeting rule. And it's sad to see, but at the end of the day, man, you got to protect the players. But I think it takes that edge off of the receiver coming across the middle, knowing that he can't be hit up top. Now, what's the rule about hitting below the knee now? Can we do that?
I don't even know what that. I
remember it was a talk because players were getting hit below the knees and while they were in the air catching the ball, and they were complaining about it. I said, God, this is football. We got to be. Come on now. Now, I'm an offensive player, but you come across that middle, you bring your hard hat. Bring it. You gotta bring your hard hat. And that's what it was. But I respected it, and I think it kind of made football for me. Now it's getting. I'm not gonna say it's getting soft because we're still landing hits, but still, it's a couple rules in there that I want to see taken out.
It is. I challenge anybody, and you can do this. Go watch a game. Even forget about the 50s and the 60s. Go watch a game from the 90s and compare that to today.
No.
Joik, you are 100% correct. It is two absolutely, totally different games. Mm-hmm. Corey, I want to get your take on why it's not happening at Michigan because, and I'll go back. I'm being sincere with my Michigan friends out there. Up until this year, I thought Jim Harbaugh got a bad rap. Jim Harbaugh had good teams. Good teams. The problem was they weren't great. The problem was you didn't get that payoff. I get it. You got to beat Michigan State. You got to beat Ohio State. You got to at least win a division. But I thought that people were hammering on Jim Harbaugh unfairly up until this year. This year is a pure, unmitigated disaster. It is amazing how bad they are. And they really are bad. But I'm interested to get both of your take. Corey, I'll start with you. Why hasn't it happened for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan? Because I thought they had all the right ingredients. And B, do you agree with me? Up until this year, I thought Harbaugh kind of got a bum rap by the fan base.
All right, so in my opinion, I believe it hasn't worked out at U of M just simply because I think he's better suited for the pro game. I think his message. I mean, one of my friends actually said it on one of our shows last week. His game, his coaching style seems better suited for the pro athletes. So for some reason, I mean, he did good at Stanford, but for some reason, his message now is not hitting home with the newer players. I don't know whether it's a generation gap or what.
I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if the playbook is difficult. I don't know if they have to play and think too much, and they're thinking too much while they're playing, so they can't play fast. I don't know what's going on, but something has to change. And I don't know if it's if it's a hiccup in the coaching staff. I don't know if it's a hiccup in the players that they recruit. I don't know if the players don't fit the type of coaching style or play style that the coach has implemented into the program. I don't know what it is, but
I can't figure it out. And guys that follow Michigan very closely that I know in the media that are about as close as you can get, I think everybody kind of has that same feeling. Like I don't get it. Why hasn't this worked?
I don't know. He's a successful coach, and his recruiting tactics are unmatched. Like I said, I don't know if it's the players that they're bringing in. I don't know if it's the playbook. I don't know. If he's successful in all these different places and to come here, the one place that he wants to be the most, and it's his dream job, I don't know.
And on what you said about, I believe you asked, was it unfair up until this season? I don't think it was unfair. I believe, like, first off, he's brought Michigan back, and I actually did some research on this because I was talking to one of my friends about it. Harbaugh brought Michigan back to what they always were, a 9-10 win team that could sometimes go ahead and win 11 games occasionally. He brought them back to that. The problem is that when Michigan was winning those 9 and 10 games, they were always beating Michigan State and occasionally beating Ohio State. Now they're lucky to beat Michigan State, and they don't beat Ohio State. That's the problem. He's not winning any big games against any ranked opponents.
Let me take it a step further. The difference between Michigan now and Michigan back then as well is you occasionally mixed in a Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Okay, and kids, like, we'll go back to the conversation we had earlier about when we were growing up. Michigan was the gold standard here. Make no mistake about it, okay? There are kids that have grown up here.
Sean, you're a little bit older than me. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a lot bit older than him, actually.
So not when we was growing up.
Okay, but you know what? Here, I'll fix it this way. In both of our generations, Michigan was the gold standard. Here's the difference. I want you to think about this. In 2004, my son was in kindergarten. 2004, my son was in kindergarten. It's 2020 now. There are kids that went all the way through school, up until their senior year of college, that have watched Michigan win exactly nothing. Zero. There are kids playing football in Benton Harbor or at Livonia Stevenson or Corey, wherever you grew up. I'll use Ypsilanti, for example. There are kids that are thinking about their next school right now that you know, in their lifetime, Michigan hasn't won anything. And that's crazy when you think about it. You know, I mean, it really is, because believe me, the brand still exists. The big block M is still the big block M.
The big house.
Yeah, the big house.
The biggest stadium in the country.
All of those things. But you know what I'm saying? If I'm a kid and I'm sitting back and I'm saying, well, you know what? I'd like to be part of a championship. You've never seen Michigan win a championship. The only thing that you've seen is video from years gone by. And oh, look, there's former NFLer Greasy throwing a touchdown, whatever the case may be. And how big of a factor is that moving forward? Because I know they've had their good recruiting classes, but it's kind of strange when you think about it. In our neck of the woods, there is a generation of kids that have gone all the way through school, and they haven't seen Michigan win anything. Yeah. That's really weird when you think about it.
Yeah, but it's the culture. Once again, it's the tradition, the culture of having that, and then the people and the boosters, the people that were there who saw that was there in that time, are still around.
Yeah.
They're still around, and they're still pubbing it out, and people are eating it up, and I mean, for me, I ate it up.
Oh, absolutely.
I loved it. I
sure.
loved it. The media, everything. I was Michigan everything football when I was growing up. I loved it. Yeah. So. I want to.
You wanted to go there, so
I wanted to
see,
go.
I never knew that.
There.
He mentioned that yesterday. He wanted to go to Michigan.
You know what? I wanted to go to a big school, and I wanted to be able to showcase my ability at running back. And just Michigan, this at the time, it was no way I could go there and get a fair shot. Because people don't realize it's political. You know, it's real political when you go. You have this big talk. Even when I went to Grand Valley, I went for a recruiting visit at Grand Valley.
Was BK there at the time? Brian Kelly? Was he there at the time?
No, I think it was Chuck.
Oh yeah, Chuck. Yeah.
It was Chuck.
Yeah,
it was Chuck, and he was there. And I remember going to the recruiting visit, and this is the first one. The first thing he came and he spoke to all the recruiters and their parents. And so it's about, I don't know, 20 plus of us and our parents. And he comes in, he said, listen, guys, hands in his pocket, listen, guys, we don't need you. This is what he said, listen, you come here play for, you come here play for us, you'll be a championship, you'll be with a championship team, but listen, we'll be fine just without you. We'll love to have you, but if you don't come, that's fine. And I'm like, wow. I said, welcome to the big leagues then. And then they had a running back coming in from a Division I school, and they just basically was giving him the job. So I said, if I came here, would I have an opportunity to fight for the job? And they said, no, he's pretty much has it sold up. It was, I'll never forget his name, Ashton Martin. His name was Ashton Martin.
Ashton Martin?
Ashton Martin. He came from University of Toledo. And I said, well, since he has it sold up, you guys will just see me for the next 4 years. Now, I never beat him. But I gave him hell though. I gave him hell, but never beat him. But
yeah, Chuck Martin was the coach, and then Matt's been there for a while now. Matt Mitchell, of course, and they're still getting it done.
Is he the one that took over for Chuck when he left?
I think didn't Matt take over for Chuck?
I'm not for certain because he took over after I left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been there ever since. And then, but yeah, I think that's when Chuck went to Notre Dame. I think he was the defensive coordinator under BK, and then I think he ended up leaving, going somewhere else. I didn't keep up with.
Yeah, I don't remember where after that.
Yeah. But no, it was.
They produced some coaches, man. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's just to put the capper on this. It's still the game. I'll still be watching if they play. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on that. That's just the way of the world right now, man. It just is.
Just don't know, man.
What do you think about the high schoolers, by the way? You know what? I want to get off topic for a second. I get it, this COVID thing going on. I think the MHSAA has done a fantastic job of navigating this season, and I hope that the governor allows them to finish this season. Because I think, Joy, to me, if you're playing outside with no fans and these guys are policing themselves, let's just finish the season.
Let's finish it. So I know because my son's season, they just lost. I mean, I think they made it to like they made it to the third round of playoffs. And so they were doing well. They were doing really well, but ended up losing. And after they lost, I didn't keep track of it. I didn't know what was going on. So did they not have the championship game yet?
Nope. We got a few weeks left, and you know what? The MHSAA has done a great job, and the member schools have done a great job of policing themselves. And if teams had it, they said, we're done. You know, and unfortunately, some teams did have to wave the white flag, so to speak, and not play the games. I, for the life of me, I don't understand why they aren't allowed to play outside with no fans, especially when they're all getting tested anyway.
Right.
That's one thing, Joy, and I don't know if you feel the same way, and obviously it's different with your son playing. And I've had this conversation with Joey and Stick before. As I've gotten older, I've had a far greater appreciation for high school football and going out on a Friday night than I did when I was younger. I honest to God, it's one of my favorite things to do.
It's funny.
Is go out, or whether it be where I live now in Northville or my old alma mater, Livonia Stevenson. I love going out and seeing games on Friday.
It's funny. So it's different. So when I grew up, I wasn't a big NFL fan. I had favorite players, but I didn't have favorite teams. Now, I grew up watching the Lions because it had Barry, had my favorite running back on there. But I had favorite players. College was U of M, but I was the biggest fan of our varsity football team as a kid growing up. Going there Friday night, they play under the lights. We called it the swamp because our football field down there used to be a swamp. and eventually it turned into like our football field is down there, both baseball diamonds, our practice football field. We had 2 practice football fields, and then on the outside we had the swamp was behind it, and so our stadium can fit probably close to. I could be overkill about 10,000 fans. It was. We had a big stadium, and I will go there, and I'm like, wow, and I had older cousins that were on the team, and now I want to be the ball boy, and then Maurice Burton at the time, my godfather, was the coach, so he'll have me in the locker room with the guys, and just the smell of the locker room, and then after the game, I'm like, this is what this smells like, and so I remember I would try to. My cousin was he was the quarterback, and so he would tell the running back like, yeah, my little cousin can take you. And I'm like, hey, this guy big. I'm a kid. And so we'll tussle we'll tussle. I'm tussling with like the players in the locker room. It was fun. It was fun for me. I loved it. I loved it.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I've always felt, and you mentioned, of course he's talking about Benton Harbor, the West Side has always been just this much more hype about the prep game than the East Side has. The East Side has really made up a lot. I mean, anybody that lives out here in the Detroit area, you have to acknowledge that high school coverage and high school football has exploded around here in the last 10, 15 years. But to your point, Joik, it's been like that on the West Side.
Oh, for years.
For years. From Benton Harbor all the way up to Traverse City, it's massive out there.
It was massive. So growing up, we didn't have football camps, right? So we didn't, so when I host my football camp every year, that's something that I never had when I was there, and I always wanted it. And I remember we had one year from this college, held one, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I said, wow, why don't we have this here all the time? I can do this all the time. And so on that side of the statement, my first love was baseball when I was 8, and then the same year I played football that fall, and football instantly became my second home, and fell in love with it. But I was still like a baseball at heart as well, so I still love baseball. It was a good time.
I'm finding out all this stuff about him, Corey. I didn't know. I've known him I never knew what a big Michigan. Baseball was your first love. I had no idea. Really?
4 years varsity baseball.
No
in
kidding.
High school. Yeah, I was trying to play baseball at Wayne State, but Coach Winters wouldn't let me do 2 sports. I don't know why. He let other players do 2 sports, but he didn't let me do it for some reason. He wouldn't let me play basketball. He wouldn't let me play baseball.
You're kind of important to the football team.
I guess so. But no, honestly, I love baseball. I played basketball. I was just good at it, but it wasn't like my first love. I played it because we had some good players on our team. Wilson Chandler, we had Ronnie Alexander. We had some good players who went to play Division I, and we had an opportunity to go to state. So I want to be part of that state team, and I'm pretty good. So let me just go out for the team. Made the team, and I was a 6th man. Started some games, but I was basically the 6th man coming off the bench. We're ranked number 7 in the country, number 1 in the state, so it was good times. It was a good time.
Oh, that's great. Corey, you big, before we get out of here, we got a couple minutes left. You big MHSAA guy. It's funny, Stick and Joey, I've seen them out at a couple games. That's one of the hats that I hold. I call some games in the MHSAA. If I'm not calling a game, even if I have a bye week, I go to a game. I enjoy the Friday Night Lights. You into it?
I'm not going to lie. I'm not that big into it. Now, hold on. Let me take that back. Before I went to high school, I was into it because my cousin, he played at Brother Rice.
Okay.
And I was always just going to his games, and I was seeing him play against St. Mary's. Saw him play in 2 state championship games. They played one game against, I believe it was Saginaw. I think it was Saginaw where Charles Rogers went.
Yeah.
And then
Saginaw High, I think.
Yep.
Is that 99? I think it was
something
99,
like that. Yeah, kicked their butt. Then the next year they came back and played Hudsonville and beat them for the state title. But when I got to high school, I didn't care about football. I mean, I played, but our team was so bad. Ferndale High School.
Okay.
Junior year, I played up the junior year. We made the playoffs.
What position?
Okay.
Oh boy.
I have to preface my comments by saying that anybody that'll tell you this, my coach was horrible. Not sitting up here saying I was like the best athlete in the world, but he had me at 180 pounds playing on the offensive line. Yeah, so I remember one game in my senior year, I was going against Brandon. I was on the line, and I trotted out there at 185 pounds on the line. Brandon High.
Oh, okay.
And the guy on the D-line was like, "What the bleep are you doing out here?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know." He like, "This is effed up." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Hike. Next thing I know, shoulder pads are up in my neck. So, but yeah, I didn't care about high school football once I got to well, I mean, I played like I said, I played it, but I didn't care about going to the games out because Ferndale took the love for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I love going out on Friday night. That's one of my things. Joik, as you know, Wayne State now hosts De La Salle games. So it's fun. A lot of times I'll be there on a Friday night for a game and then back at Wayne State for the game on Saturday.
I'm going to tell you this. Keep an eye out for Grosse Pointe North.
Yeah?
My nephew is on the team.
Wide receiver. Yeah?
Nasty.
Yeah?
Oh, he's nice. He has no. When I say no, I mean I'm not like he has opportunity. So I have my son in St. Joseph. He's on the west part of the state. Then you have my nephew here, who's in Grosse Pointe North, and then I have another nephew. Oh, he's actually my little cousin that's going into his senior year at Kelloggsville.
Okay.
A receiver.
Yep.
And the one here is going to he has an opportunity, both him and the one from Grand Rapids has the opportunity to be the #1 wide receiver in the state next year if they continue to put up numbers like they did this year. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, 2 hours flies by. We will check in again tomorrow. Don't forget, make sure you start your morning with Stick and Joey. We come on at 11 o'clock. And stay tuned. There's going to be so much stuff, so many cool things happening here at Woodward Sports. I mean, we're talking about podcasts. We're talking about shows. We've got an afternoon show to tell you about. I've got a barbecue show to tell you about. Make sure you follow that guy as well. We appreciate him chiming in today.
Big Corey.
He's going to be with us all the way. He is Corey with a K, E. Woods on Twitter. Does a great job following the Lions. You'll enjoy him as a follow as well. Joik, always a pleasure, my friend.
Well, always a pleasure. Tap in with us tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Later.